Good morning. Today's Palm Sunday, which is a bit of a special day in the church, and so I've got a special experiment for you today. So what we need for this experiment is that we're going to have some water, and I'm going to put that in a glass. I'm only going to fill the glass up about a quarter of the way full, and then I want to add some food colouring so we can see what's going on. And if you're going to do this, you need quite dark food colouring, so add lots. So we'll start with some red. And we'll add some blue to that. Okay, and now we need to stir that all up so we'll get it nice and even and dark. And now we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some cooking oil. I'm just going to use some cheap canola oil on top. Don't use your mum's best olive oil if you're doing this experiment at home. And I'm going to fill the glass almost but not quite to the top. And what you'll notice is that the water, the coloured water, and the oil don't mix, because we know that oil and water don't mix. And so any bubbles you create, they'll just all settle down to the bottom. And once that's kind of settled down a bit, we'll get the fun started. So I'm using some Alka-Seltzer tablets, only because they're really big tablets, but you can use any tablet like this, so long as it produces bubbles when you add it to water. So I'm going to break this one into quarters, and we're just going to put a quarter of a tablet in and see what happens. And things are already starting to happen. So what you'll notice is that the water from the bottom is all floating up to the top as bubbles really quickly, and then coming back down again. So what's happening is that the tablet is producing carbon dioxide bubbles in the water, and they are collecting around water droplets, and because they're now lighter than the oil, they float to the top. And after they're popped at the top, or the gas is popped at the top, the bubbles of liquid float back down again. And we can zoom in, have a bit of a closer look at it, and you can see it all happening again. So imagine you were there on Palm Sunday. There would have been thousands of people in Jerusalem who'd waited to see Jesus come in. And it would have been really chaotic. It would have been a lot like these bubbles in this water. People going up and down, running around to find things. You had people with palm fronds and they were throwing them down in front of Jesus. People racing away to get palm fronds and pushing their way back. People on the top of the houses throwing their cloaks down. And it was really exciting. And the fact that it was exciting was actually one of the problems, because the rulers of Jerusalem got really worried about this. But the ordinary people had suddenly seen Jesus for who he was. They thought he was the Messiah, the promised Messiah. The rulers didn't think so, because instead of coming into Jerusalem on a horse, he came in on a donkey. So when you hear this story, I want you to think about what it would have been like if you'd been there. Now, if you're going to do this experiment at home, it's really important that you clean it up well. And one of those things is, don't tip the oil down the sink, because it's likely to clog up the sink. find somewhere outside where it's not going to do any harm, and then tip it outside there. And then you're going to need a bit of detergent to clean the rest of the oil out of the glass.